Hello, my name is Brianna Artiga, and today I will be presenting my favorite brain part on the Broca's and Wernicke's areas. All right, so as for a little rationale as to why I picked the Wernicke's and Broca's areas, I picked them because of the role that they play in our speech and language centers. And me as a person, I see communication as such an integral part as to who we are as people, and it makes us very unique. And additionally, humans are just very social creatures, and communication is so vital to fulfilling that. Lastly, I just really hope to relay how expressive and receptive communication is something that many of us can take for granted, but it is a very complex process that um, takes place. And also, as a little background of who I am, I'm a speech language hearing sciences major. So I just really wanted to use this chance to learn more about the cognitive neurology that goes behind communication. All right. So here are the two gentlemen that the Broca's and Wernicke's areas are named after. So on the left, we have Paul Broca, which he is a French physician who described one of his patients who could only say one word, and that word was tan. So he named this patient Tan. And when he died, Broca was actually able to examine his brain, and he found damage to the inferior frontal region, which became to be known as the Broca's area. And also, Tan was able to understand much of what was said to him, and he retained that ability. But this makes sense because the Broca's area is responsible for speech production, not speech comprehension. So that ability would be that would remain. On the right, we have Karl Wernicke, which is a German physician, and he found that language problems also could arise due to another part in the brain. And this area became to be known as the Wernicke's area, and this was in the posterior part of the temporal lobe, and it is responsible for speech comprehension. All right, so when I talk about the Wernicke's and Broca's areas being my favorite part, I actually mean the entire language centers of the brain. So I'm just going to give a little brief overview on the anatomy that goes behind the language center. So as we covered, the Broca's area is responsible for speech production, and the Wernicke's area is responsible for speech comprehension. So, also important is the primary auditory cortex, which processes auditory information by actually transforming mechanical vibrations from sound waves into electrical nerve signals. And then the primary visual cortex, this receives, integrates, and processes visual information. And just something to think about how much we use our visual cues in communication. That can be body language or gestures, and that can be really integral to trying to relay a certain message to someone. And then also we have the arcuate fasciculus, which is a bundle of nerves that connects the Broca's area and the Wernicke's area. And then we have the motor cortex, which controls how we move our mouth and lips to produce vocalizations and speech. And then we have the angular gyrus, which this part is associated with semantic processing and helps us derive and interpret the meaning of words when we are performing processes such as reading or writing. All right, this is a little cool visual for seeing like the exact process of what goes down when seeing or hearing and how that is translated to speaking. So on the left, we have speaking written words, and here, so we are starting at the primary visual cortex, that is where information first arrives, and then we're going to the Wernicke's area, the Broca's area, and then the primary motor cortex to get that speech out. And then when speaking heard words, first we are starting, the information is arriving at the primary auditory cortex, going to the Wernicke's area, the Broca's area, and then the primary motor cortex to again get that speech to be relayed. All right, so something important to talk about when talking about the language center is aphasias. And this is defined by total or partial loss of the ability to either produce or comprehend spoken language. And so I really like this visual because it really shows what abilities remain intact with each type of aphasia. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to go through some of the main ones. So for Broca's aphasia, this is characterized by trouble producing language and effortful speech, so it can be hard to get words out. But with this, the individual's intelligence remains intact, which, as we can see here, um, and you can understand others well, but when you're speaking, you are what is known as non-fluent. And this refers to speech that has a lack of continuity or rate or smoothness. And then for Wernicke's aphasia, this is characterized by trouble understanding language and poor comprehension. So the individual will present effortful speech, also known as fluent speech, opposite to Broca's aphasia. But what the individual is saying really makes no sense, or it shows poor understanding of the language system. And they commonly have what is known as word salad because their speech tends to include random words and phrases just thrown together. The last thing that I'm going to cover here is global aphasia. And as you can see, if we go through the little diagram, is speech fluent? No. Can the person comprehend? No. Can the person repeat? No. So as you can see here, basically what happens is this is due to damage in the middle cerebral artery, and you are losing all language functions, meaning abilities to speak, comprehend, read, and write. Those are all impaired. But something to note is that most patients that have this condition are still able to curse, count, say the days of the week, and sing familiar songs to them. All right, so next I'm going to discuss neurological illnesses. And basically, these are acquired, meaning that you're not born with it, and they are either later manifested in life or are due to some sort of injury. So basically, I'm going to start the list. So we have dementia, and then followed by Alzheimer's disease, and then corticobasal syndrome, frontotemporal dementia, Parkinson's disease, stroke, traumatic brain injury, non-traumatic brain injury, including encephalopathy or sepsis, tumors, and Lou Gehrig's disease, also known as ALS. So with these illnesses, they commonly include symptoms of aphasia or other cognitive communication impairments. And as one fun fact, the American actor, very popular, Bruce Willis, he was actually diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia back in 2023, and he actually acquired aphasia as a symptom and had to take a step down from acting. All right, just to end the presentation real quick, a big thank you to listening to what I had to say. And I hope you learned something new about the complex process that goes on in the brain to produce communication. Thank you.